So far in this course, we have been working with non-persistent data. So this means as soon as you close your application, you lose all your data. Let's take this company class as an example, and this is how we execute the company class. We have set a company name SFDC Facts Academy, and we have also added some of the customers. So here we got all the customers of the company. But all this data is not stored anywhere. If you remove these statements from your code, let's say if I remove all these three statements and I execute my code, my customer list will be blank. So this time I don't get any result. The point that I want to make here is none of the data that we have been dealing with so far is stored anywhere, because this is being stored in the application heap, and as soon as we close the application or click on this execute button, this data is cleaned again, and next time when you run the class, again this data will be loaded in the application heap and will be cleared again as soon as we close the application. So how can we make our data persistent? So if you take a look at our Salesforce org, and if you go to the accounts tab here, we see few of the accounts, and let's go to all accounts here and let's create a new account. And I'm gonna call it test account. Let's save it, and our account got created. Now even though if I'll refresh this page, this data will still be there. If I go back to my accounts tab and click on all the accounts, I can still see my test account. So this is a persistent data, and this is stored in the Salesforce database. And if we go back to the starting few videos of this course, we have talked about how a web application works, where we talked about the databases as well. And a database is used to store your data, and that's what exactly happening here. All these records are stored in a database. So there is an account table or account object in the database where we are storing all these rows or records. So if you go to our Salesforce setup and here search for object, let's give it some time, we can see that our account is one of the object, and in Salesforce object is something similar to a table in the database. And if you go to this account, we can also see all the fields of the account, and these fields corresponds to the values or the columns in that particular record. So here account name is also a field. Then we have a field called rating, phone, fax, website, and there are so many other fields on the account object. So if you want to store our data and if you want to make our data persistent, then we need to use these Salesforce objects, and we need to learn how we can query this data from these objects. So like if you go to this account tab, Salesforce is actually querying all the data from the account table or account object and showing all these records in this list view here. But this is something happening behind the scene, and we don't know how Salesforce is querying all this data. How can we write our own query? How can we retrieve all these records from the account object and maybe modify these records and then save it back to the database again? So that's what we'll be learning in this module. We'll be talking about SOQL, which is Salesforce Object Query Language, which is used to query the records from the Salesforce objects. Doesn't matter whether it is a standard object like account, contact, lead, opportunity, or maybe a custom object that you have created. So just to give you a quick demo of how to retrieve this data from the account object, let's go back to our developer console. I'm going to close this anonymous window, and I'm also going to close all my tabs here. I'll go to my file, and here I'll click on open resource. So you will see a pop-up window like this, and here we are going to search for our account object first. So type in account here, and you will see that there is a list item called account.obj, and here obj stands for object. So this is our account object. You can double click on it to open in your developer console. And here, if you want to retrieve some of the field values, so let's say you want to retrieve the account name and phone from this account object. So what you can do, you can select the name and phone from this list. And to select multiple fields or multiple list items here, you can press the command on Mac OS and control on Windows OS and select these multiple fields. And then click on the query button here. For the first time, it's going to open the query editor here. Click on this query button again, and then it's going to write a query for you. So this is a SQL query which is going to retrieve the name, phone, and ID from the account object. Let's click on this execute button, and this is going to retrieve all the data or all the records from the account object. So here we see that there are total 13 account records, and that's what we can confirm from our list view as well. We see 13 items here, and we see the name of the account and the phone number. So this was just a quick overview to show you how a SQL query works. From the next video, we'll be learning the SQL from scratch, and we will be building our own queries.